of the Painesville City Board of Education for Monday, September 9th is now called to order. Mrs. Samek, would you call the roll, please?
Dr. James Humphreys.
Present.
Ms. Parsoni.
Present.
Ms. Remington.
Present.
Mr. Tackett.
Present.
Mr. Webster.
Present.
And we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and we need a motion to adopt this evening's agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Mrs. Sanger?
Dr. Humphreys.
Yes.
Ms. Remington.
Yes.
Mr. Tackett.
Yes.
Mr. Webster.
Yes.
Ms. Parsoni.
Yes. And Dr. Humphreys, do we have anyone that signed in down there?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 3, we need a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of August 14th.
So move. Second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Sanger?
No question.
Ms. Remington.
Yes.
Mr. Tackett.
Yes.
Mr. Webster.
Yes.
Dr. Humphreys.
Yes.
Ms. Parsoni.
Yes. Dr. Engelhardt?
Okay, our first presentation tonight on the agenda is presentation of diplomas. However, we don't have those graduates here yet, so we'll move through and see if they make it.
Okay.
So our second item is employee certificates of recognition, and I'd like to ask Mr. Bell to come forward for those presentations.
This doesn't work, does it? Does it? Okay.
Well, this is magnified here.
Oh, that's all right, I don't need a microphone. So, so this year, we've had a big change in our grounds crew. First of all, instead of 6, we have 2. So that's a big change. But also, the appearance of the grounds, I don't know if anyone's noticed,
I have.
they've
Oh,
greatly
yeah.
improved.
Yes.
Greatly improved.
And that is in part or completely because of the work of Tiger, if you stand and come on up, William or Tiger Alexander, and also Raphael Moreno, if you would come up with us as well. And really the success that Tiger and Raphael have had, not only it has to do with their hard work ethic and also just talent, but they really are going above and beyond their basic job qualifications to get the work done. And I think that plays in large part to what the board is trying to do with the district as a whole, and Dr. Engelhardt's vision, not only for the students but also for staff. So I just want to, again, just working with you has been a pleasure. We have certificates that are suitable for framing, and then
We don't provide the frames.
for Tiger, we got you a new uniform shirt. It's a Nike polo. You should probably wear that too. And then Raphael, this is his standard uniform. He was like 145 last month, and he was still wearing a flannel. So for him, we got him a flannel.
Yes, and I want to extend my personal thanks for the hard work that you all do. Again, it really shows up. It means a lot, and we very much appreciate the work. So I'd like to present these certificates of appreciation They read, "In appreciation for your commitment to excellence and recognition of your leadership, teamwork, and dedication to the students and staff of Painesville City local schools, as you consistently go the extra mile to maintain high standards of workmanship for district goals." Mr. Tiger? Thank you very much. Raphael? Thank you so much.
I want to thank you to Sean for doing the thank you. And thank you to Tiger for his passion. Sometimes that you can
I just want to say thank you to the board, Dr. Lahart and Sean. This young man pushes me. As I told Sean before, when you're working with someone that pushes you for greatness, for excellence, it makes you a better employee. So for that, I thank you.
So Tiger and Raphael, if we've gone from 6 to 2 employees, does that mean you're working like 16 hours a day?
It depends upon the situation. It's not hard, fast rule, but depending upon the needs of the district, those hours can go a regular, normal 8-hour day, or it can go a little bit beyond that. But our goal has always been communicate to Sean what we'd like to get accomplished as far as big projects, small projects. And once we get the green light from him, we just go ahead and we just attack it. We just have, as a coach, I just have that attack mentality. You know, let's go in together, let's just get it done. However long it takes. And again, thank you for the opportunity.
I just want to say, when I walked in to Harvey, to the back today, someone who understands weeds and how quickly they crop up in your own garden, I was amazed at just how pristine everything looked. I mean, there were no weeds. Everything was landscaped well. I noticed that you had trimmed, the bushes that were, lining this area here. I mean, it really, what a difference. It is a noticeable difference. So thank you so much.
People really take note of that, and it shows that we
right.
take pride in our property.
Absolutely. I would just add, I mean, I remember last summer, or maybe it was when I first, and how disappointed I was, given how we have these beautiful buildings and the grounds look so poor, and now they look so extraordinary consistently. And I guess the point it brings to my mind is what you mentioned, Tiger, about leadership for both of you. I mean, you're real leaders, and we can be leaders in no matter what role we're in, by just displaying that leadership and taking it on and taking ownership. And so, again, thank you so much.
Good hires, Mr. Bell.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's all about work ethic.
Thanks again, gentlemen. Our third presentation,
Lieutenant Brigette?
yeah, Lieutenant Brigette, I've not.
He's not here.
So I do believe at this time we can jump back to our first presentation, and I'll ask Ms. Fitzgerald to come down for that presentation.
Okay, it's my pleasure to congratulate Martell Bryce on completing all of the requirements needed for graduation. Worked hard this summer to catch up and get all the classes done, so congratulations.
Nice job. Good grab photos. Stand pretty when we get out from behind. Congratulations. Nice job. We like to play dances.
He's going to go like work as a construction worker.
Okay.
My brother's
Okay.
job.
Okay.
He makes like $20 an hour.
Okay.
So I think that's a good job.
Yeah,
Great.
very good.
Very
Awesome.
good.
As you can do.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Good job, Martel. Okay, have you heard from Tom?
Now, they told me to be here at 7, but I haven't seen him. You want me to try to give him a call?
Maybe shoot a message. In the meantime, I'd suggest that we
Go
move
ahead.
forward with the agenda.
There's pretty
So, item
big investigation going on.
5.1, there's, our next regularly scheduled meeting is October 14th. And moving on to Ms. Remington with the legislative report.
Thank you. This is very short because not a whole lot has been going on. And, but of course, I wouldn't want to leave you without one, so
Oh,
I,
absolutely not.
came up with a few things. Governor DeWine has issued an order to create a school safety center for the state. The center will be under Ohio Homeland Security and will be devoted to the safety of Ohio schools and students. The center will be a center repository where schools, law enforcement, and communities can access resources, information, and training on school safety. So that's part of his 17-point initiative for school safety that he is starting to put into, Representative Gail Manning is sponsoring House Bill 123, and this is referred to as the Safety and Violence Education for Students Act, better known as SAVE. And this bill seeks to create new requirements for curriculum dealing with threats, training for building staff, and student clubs. Part of Manning's bill requires ODPS to develop a model threat assessment and emergency management plan for schools. And Senator Frank Hoagland is sponsoring Senate Bill 147, which would establish the Ohio School Marshal Program to provide safety and security services in schools. So you can see where the focus is right now, and we hope that it will be beneficial to all the Ohio schools, including ours. I do want to say that Youngstown School District was featured in an article about this new initiative for after-school program for students to give them a place to stay and to learn and to do things. And I thought, where have I heard something like that? And so obviously our hub right outside the door is probably pretty cutting edge for the area. And Youngstown doesn't have anything on us because we're already there. So just thought I'd bring that up. So that ends my legislative report for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Remington. Anyone have any questions for her?
Good. That's the way
Okay,
it is.
item 7, the treasurer's consent agenda. We need a motion here, please.
Move to adopt as presented.
Second.
Okay, I'll just go through them real quick. 7.1 is to create Fund 467. That fund has never existed before, and it's being adopted by the Auditor of State's Office, that is the fund to track all of our student wellness and success fund. So all the additional funding we got through the budget bill, we need to, it's not going directly to our general fund. I have to track it separately in its own fund. So in order for me to to do that, we have to adopt that fund. So that is, that's what that was, 7.1 is. 7.2 is the amendment to the tax distribution for the financing district. When we're on the ballot this November, if the renewal passes, when they start to collect on that, we will be collecting on our fair share instead of on ADM. So this has been, it's been a long time in the making that, you know, they wanted to kind of redistribute it more evenly. So it will be based on whatever the district puts in is what the district will get out instead of based on ADM. 7.3 is my permanent appropriations for the year. So at the end of June, I had to adopt temporaries to get the ball rolling. So these are the permanent appropriations. I can amend them throughout the year, but I feel pretty good about them. I added Fund 467 to include that student wellness and success fund in there. My grants have already been, you know, they've already told us what we're gonna allocate it for the grants for this year. So those are the appropriations for the year. And then 7.4 is the donations that were presented to the district over the past month.
I'd just like to say how wonderful it is to see some of our area churches
Yes.
donating to our children.
So Mrs. Seaman, could you
Yes.
give us a little more information on this Fund 467, please?
Sure. So, the budget bill came out, it's for 2 years, and so for this year, we, are getting almost $700,000 to spend on student wellness and success, which is for like mental health services, mentoring, after-school programs. And what's nice about it is the money is, you're able to use the money for existing expenditures. So a lot of the stuff that we are already providing, we can kind of take that out of our general fund and recode it into Fund 467. And so it's, even though it's not in my general fund, I can pull some of our existing expenditures out of our general fund and allocate that to this fund. Then the following year, they will give us an additional $300,000, so we'll end up with almost $1 million in year 2. So it was like almost a $1.7 million gain for us, or an offset to the general fund, however you want to word it. But we have to track it separately, we have to come up with a little plan, so we have a little shared spreadsheet that we kind of contribute to, and how it can be used that qualifies, and I'm planning for, you know, next year what we can do. We were able to identify enough expenditures this year to use all the money up, and then next year we do have some money that we'll probably look into implementing some new stuff.
So this would be Signature Health and Crossroads would be included in that?
Yes.
Okay.
That would
And
be-
then the hub would be included in that?
Yes, and like the Family Resource Center,
Okay.
things like that.
All right.
Great.
I assume since they wanted a separate fund, they're gonna wanna see, you know, and improve
absolutely.
all of the funding. Are they wanting to see any kind of metric on results of those programs?
Well, this is all new, so there's no definite, they said that you do have to write a plan, but ODE doesn't have to even approve your plan, you just have to have a plan. And then you have to, at some point at the end of this fiscal year, report back to them. There is some talk about the 5-year forecast is getting pushed to November instead of October, and they may or may not include that in the 5-year forecast, even though the forecast is just the general fund. They say that they may include this fund within the forecast, and they haven't made a determination yet.
Okay.
So it's all new, so everything is, like, just like the beginning of last week, I wanted to start making my accounts, and it wasn't even like out there in my software. It was like Fund 467 is an invalid fund. I'm like, like I need it. Like, no, it really is a real one. And so they literally just edited in the state auditor's office, just officially adopted that this is the fund you need to use to track this money. And so it's just all brand new. So as time goes on, more information will come out. But yeah, definitely, since I have to track it separately, they'll definitely be looking at it with a fine tooth comb.
Any other questions or comments?
Okay, Mr. Tackett,
Yes.
Mr. Webster.
Yes.
Dr. Humphries.
Yes.
Ms. Remington.
Yes.
Ms. Powers Dolly.
Yes. And item 8 is yours also?
Yep, 8.1 through 8.5 is the financials through August. Nothing wild or crazy, typical month. I do have, like, the end of August is the end of everyone's old contract. So like teacher contract starts September 1st, so everyone's on new contracts now, so, and that's also the end of all my grants. And so now that the grant period, even though like my year ends June 30th, my grant period ends the end of August, and so now in September I can file my final expenditure reports for all of grants last year, so I'm still kinda in last year, but I'm almost all the way in this year.
The audit team is done?
Done, oh, they just began.
Oh, they just began.
They'll be here for a few months, right?
That's right, they were going for a couple months, not
Yeah,
weeks.
they'll be here
Okay.
until like right before winter break.
Okay.
And the reason why they'll be here for so long is mainly that I'll only have one person. Like today, there was two. The most at any one point, I'll have three, but for the most part, I'll only have one. So there's only one person doing the entire audit. So that's why it's taking so long. But it's fine. She did our audit last year, so she's familiar with our district, so.
Maybe your husband should come out of retirement.
Well, he stops by to say hi, so that always helps too. She's been, they used to be together, so it's all good.
Good.
Okay, item 9, we need a motion for the superintendent's consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, 9.1 is disposals. 9.2 is an overnight field trip for FBLA. 9.3 is an MOU with PCTA regarding a salary schedule exception. 9.4 is an MOU with OPSI regarding bus garage mechanics. 9.5 is an overnight field trip for boys basketball. 9.6 is an updated HR list for 1920 from the Lake County Education Service Center. 9.7 is a contract with Big Sky Consultants for our community conversations events. 9.8 is a contract with Burgess and Burgess for strategic planning activity. 9.9 is Geauga County ESC Curriculum and Instruction Services Agreement. 9.10 is payment in lieu of transportation. 9.11 is an agreement with Houghton Mifflin for science curriculum. 9.12 is a GCL Education Services Agreement. 9.13 is a Gardner Water Treatment Agreement. 9.14 is a JTO Snowplow Contract. 9.15 is TCI Social Studies Curriculum 6-year agreement. 9.16 is a service agreement with Mentor Cares. 9.17 is an agreement with Signature Health. 9.18 is a service agreement with Beechwood. And 9.19 is a service agreement with the Wood County Juvenile Detention.
I guess one question I have with the curriculums, you know, they're pretty long-term contracts, 5-6 years. Over the life of that contract, and how do, and it's not like the curriculum becomes obsolete, it's not like computers or anything, but are there issues with particularly in science, you know, new discoveries, et cetera, how does that kind of time span of the contract, how does that get addressed in terms of content and?
Well, I'll defer to Ms. Camper a little bit, but generally, I mean, when we talk about science curriculum, we're largely in the physical sciences, and within a 6-year period, there aren't any earth-shifting discoveries that would change the
Careful how
curriculum.
you say earth
No.
shifting.
You know, I think the larger concern would be an overhaul of standards, which we've seen happen within curriculum cycles before. But even still, you know, the curriculum we purchase is to support instruction of our scope and sequence of curriculum. It's not start on page 1 and proceed through, you know, page 600. So it's a tool, or they are tools that the teacher uses to support the standards as outlined. Wendy?
Oh, yes,
Is it-
yes.
Yeah?
I agree with all, yes, all of those things are true. And then most of these contracts, within them, if there are significant changes, because we buy Ohio-specific products whenever they exist, we try really hard to do that, they put in their contracts that if there are standards revisions, like the 3-year for the science in the middle school in particular, the product that we have right now will last us 3 years, and by the end of that 3 years, then the new product will reflect the standards when they come in place 3 years from now. Social studies, we just went through a series of went through standards updates. This product is Ohio specific, and if it changes, they will give us the supplemental pieces to make our current contract match what the current standards are, if there's any changes. So 90% of the time, the company will make sure that we're whole for the duration of that contract. And the contracts, as Jerry and I talked about at great length, save us a significant amount of money. I'm able to maintain current products with current standards for multiple years. There's some products that we removed from our school that were significantly, I mean, they were a couple decades old. So we're on a nice timetable now, so we're on a schedule. So every 5 to 6 years, we'll be looking at renewing all these long-term contracts, so we stay current.
When it comes to our social studies curriculum, are we being cognizant of the diversity in our community and the poorly written history of so many of the people who are in this country? Are we making sure that our history is reflecting the truth about what's going on, and our students are learning the correct history as opposed to what, I'm trying to say this really tactfully. You know, I'm trying, yes, well,
Honest and
honest,
transparent.
and, you know.
The new products that we're bringing in are very reflective of
Okay.
multiple points of view. And then just the social studies standards in general rely on primary source documents, which wasn't necessarily the case maybe 15 or 20 years ago. We tended to tell an abridged version.
Mhm.
Now the standards in general just lead us back to primary source documents that are constantly reinforcing the alternative points of view. In addition to the series adoption that's on the agenda tonight, our teachers also have access to a lot of current, ever-changing articles. We have News ELA, which is a really important product to have with current events, current political point of views from all sides. So we're very aware of where we are and what time period we're in, and our new products are reflecting that.
Great,
We are in transition for high school. Our high school
Mhm.
teachers right now are kind of in our timeline of series adoptions. They're the next up to the plate to look at materials, but we also give them the current access to anything we find online that's a quality resource to support what they do.
Thank you. One other comment I'd like to make. I had a very difficult time reading the field trip requests, as I usually do. And I did speak with Dr. Engelhardt, and I think it's time those forms were put online so that they can actually be typed and submitted, and we can then read exactly what the field trip is about, who's going, where they're going, the basketball one, I am, even with reading glasses, .4 names is not easy for me, and only because I'm from Elmira, New York, did I catch Elmira, New York as the place they were going. So I just,
That's certainly something we can.
yeah, I don't know if I'm the only one, but.
No, I thought it was very difficult to read
Yeah.
also. there were parts of it that were very light, too.
Yeah, so,
Um,
I don't know, I just think typing is the way to go.
Yeah.
Back to the curriculum real quick,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm only bringing this up because when we got grilled by the state, whatever people,
Whoever they were.
you know, one of the points they highlighted with me was, you know, how much money we spend on curriculum and all these expensive things that we have, and you know, how do you know if they're effective and this and that and the other? I mean, you know, it's a fair point, given the way we score, you know, on their state standard tests, but I mean, I guess, what is it, how is it that you judge whether or not a certain piece of curriculum or a portion within it is really doing what you want it to do? How do you go about doing
Yeah,
that,
I mean,
assessing that?
I think traditionally, we just really leaned on standardized performance, which is inadequate. And what I can say is that this is one thing, even though we've not yet received that report
Yeah.
from the district.
Still.
review, that, yeah,
That report that we were supposed to have in June?
In June.
That's the one. But I will say that that was valuable feedback that was provided to me in kind of the preliminary results. And we have, it's not built yet, but we have built into our improvement plan something we're going to establish this year is kind of a systematic framework for not just curriculum, but program evaluation, where we identify what metrics that we're using. And in truth, it's not built yet. But that is important to us moving forward, and it's going to be something that we have. So, you know, the student performance is going to be a piece of that, but we know that the full picture takes in a lot more than that. And cost benefit is an aspect of that, you know, with all these things that we invest in. So it's where we'll be working on that.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Engelhardt, I told you I would be asking about Big
Yep.
Sky.
Yeah.
You know, I understand they're consultant and all of that. What are they specifically going to do?
Yeah, so
That we're paying them $3,000 for?
This is specifically around our community conversations events, which we held a couple last year. They were really successful in terms of engagement, feedback that we got back from the folks, and participation. You know, those were events that brought in, you know, 30 people each event, without as much promotion as we're going to do this year. And also, our community action team identified that as an event, this kind of modified town hall opportunity is really, really important in terms of our school community engagement. So we resolved that we were going to continue that. We do want to do 3 of those this year. Big Sky Consultants, the person who heads that up, his name is Gabriel Pizer. He facilitated our first community conversations event last year, and we really liked him, so I wanted to continue to work with him. The reason that facilitation of those events is important is when you are, I would offer that when you are opening up a community discussion, you have to have some parameters in place. It can't be just anybody walking in with whatever their own agenda is and it being a forum for just complaining. The conversation needs to be guided and it needs to be framed in order for it to be productive, at least in these early stages. And so I would offer that facilitation, expert facilitation of those kind of events is important. I also think that at these stages, it's beneficial to have kind of an outside person engaged with it to facilitate it, so that it's really the people in the room are we and not us and them. And I'm not suggesting that we've had that vibe at all through any of these, but it just really facilitates the discussion. And we saw how beneficial it was last year, so we wanted to make that investment as we do these events this year. That agreement also includes his working with our community action team and bringing them into the facilitation of the community conversations. So just getting that next level of engagement and also building a sustainable framework moving forward to where we don't always have to lean on somebody to facilitate, but it's just that kind of capacity building that's built in there. So that's for 3 events plus multiple meetings with our community action team and debriefing after those sessions to make sure that we have that we're using the feedback and the information that we get in a very productive way. I did shop around. The consulting services are in line with kind of what you'd expect for that. And we are able to grant fund that, so that's not a general fund expenditure.
What about Burgess and Burgess?
So
Why are they coming back?
So the Burgess and Burgess, we are, that project it's another round of strategic planning, but it's not a global district strategic plan because our current strategic plan that we're very much working under is still driven by our last round of strategic planning. So it's not time to do it at that scale yet. However, what I would like to do is sort of a focused strategic plan, specifically around our athletics programs. And the reason for that is not because we want to try to get more wins out on the field or the court, but because we recognize that athletics is a strong driver in virtually any school for engagement, pride, alumni connectivity. And we, for a long time now, have faced a lot of issues around our athletic program. And I think that we're in a situation where we have to take a systematic approach to start to get our arms around some of those issues.
Is Burgess and Burgess the right group to be doing this, or should it be a group that has more expertise in the area of athletics and dealing with that?
The reason I really like Burgess and Burgess for this project is, in particular, the people who are involved. One is Dion Dimitro. She is a Harvard graduate. She has facilitated multiple strategic planning kind of sessions with us in the past, and a lot of different community organizations.
Yeah.
And she's really, really, really good at it. And also Vanessa Teasu is another Harvey grad. So they are 2 people who, and yes, as a facilitator, you're supposed to be kind of an outsider, kind of guiding the work, but they have a real interest, a very personal interest in helping us to move forward with these kinds of efforts. So I think that they're very much the right fit for a project like this.
Along with that discussion, I told Dr. Engelhardt that I was going to ask tonight about expanding that focus a little bit for the strategic plan, because you will remember these little things we had hanging on the wall for the superintendent search meetings. Well, this was the community one, led by Miss Remington. And Dr. Sharonica James Humphreys was on that committee.
Yes.
And Dion Dimitra was on that committee. And I saved that because one of the items that they really, really, really wanted to focus on that I think we're lacking is spotlighting our alumni. Now, Ms. Remington and Dr. Humphreys will remember that back in the day for Senior Recognition Assembly, there was always a section of it that was dedicated to Hall of Fame for alumni, not athletic, but just Hall of Fame, which was discontinued because it really lengthened the assembly. Now it's done at the scholarship meeting in the summer at Hellriggles, which is very nice. It really spotlights them. But the advantage of doing it during the senior assembly was every student in the school was present and saw who these people were. And we have an impressive group of Harvey alumni that are still in our community that kids, I'm sure, have no clue that they graduated from Harvey, whether they're somebody from church or whatever, but we have doctors, including one sitting on our board. But we also have medical doctors, we have nurses, we have the president of Lifeline, we have, you know, people
Art
that own their
Felco, who started the
Right.
whole Playhouse Square.
Playhouse Square, he's a Harvey
Foundation.
grad.
Don Chula.
Yep, I mean, we
all
have,
kinds, yeah.
we have a very impressive group, and I would like to see this expanded if we could, to really go back and spotlight, I mean, really, anybody that's graduated from
Yeah.
Harvey. Even, you know, if they own a small business in town or whatever, I think that we really need to let our students know, you know.
Well, I think that was, you know, as you say, back in the day, the reason the entire school was invited to the senior recognition was to show them just how much money students were able to get to go to college or the military or technical schools.
From the city of Painesville.
From the city of Painesville, if they worked hard. And, you know, they had a good work ethic and they got good grades and they showed up and did what they were supposed to do. And, you know, I think it's great when you have all the seniors and their parents and whomever together to celebrate that. But, you know, you're not inspiring any of the, you know, younger high school students. And I know that that's, you know, that's a lot. That's a lot of students. And believe me, I remember when it was 98 degrees in that old gym.
With no air conditioning.
With no air conditioning, just huge fans. You know, it was a lot. But to me, even if you could get the junior class there when you're giving the seniors their recognition, that would at least let the juniors know, yeah, it is worth filling out those scholarship forms and stuff. It certainly would give Mrs. Fitzgerald an extra little, you know, push with the kids, you know, saying, you know, these are the reasons why we tell you to fill those things out and to take the time. And, you know, just an observation. I don't know, Sharonica, what your feeling is.
I think it's important that everyone here gets to see those people. I know I saw some alumni who were awarded, what'd you say they were?
The Hall of Fame.
The Hall of Fame
Yeah.
awards, kind of in passing, like on the Facebook page. There was a lot I didn't even know about, so yeah, it would be nice to have some formal recognition, even here at the school. I'm not sure what they do at Hell Regals, but, or who's
It's for the
even
alumni.
invited.
It's the alumni meeting. It's basically, if you're in the alumni association, and then the students who are awarded scholarships and their families are allowed to come.
I mean, what I'm thinking, and I don't know if this would fit in with Burgess and Burgess, but a lot of Harvey alumni have, you know, get together during Party in the Park. I mean, I think it would be way too soon to do it for 2020 even.
Yeah.
But for 2021, if we could do some kind of a district-wide thing, I really, you know, I think it would do a whole lot for our pride.
Yeah.
Because I don't think half our community, 3/4 of our community realize the products
That's right.
that this high school and this school district turn out.
Right.
You know, I mean,
And we're not just, you know, the other thing about during the senior recognition assembly, a lot of the people were a lot older. If people saw, you know, people people in their 30s walking
Yeah.
around town, oh, that person, I didn't know that person
Yeah.
went to Harvey.
Yeah.
I think it would make a difference.
yeah.
I really think it would make a difference.
Yeah, so this concept of you know, celebrating alumni
Mhm.
and sharing alumni stories, it's come up many times in different forums and different discussions. It's come out of our community action team. It's been identified as a specific action step in terms of, improving that engagement. So I absolutely agree. It's work that we need to do. I don't know exactly how to package it in with this product. I'm not saying that I can't. I have to think about kind of what
Well, and you'll have
umbrella
to
it all
talk to
fits
them
under.
too,
Yeah.
to see
Oh,
whether
yeah.
it's gonna change the
Right.
terms of the
Right.
contract
Yeah.
or not.
I mean, it could even be done during some of the sports events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This could be 100 different pieces in
Yeah.
100 different
Sure.
places, but we need to
Well,
do
I mean,
some-
it's probably more important to evaluate good opportunities to
Yeah.
do that,
Yeah,
instead of
right.
saying, how do we
Any
get it into the
opportunity,
sewer
yeah.
thing, or this or that or the other.
Yeah.
I wanna go back real quick to the Big Sky discussion, because we used to have the Red Raider Roundtable that started a few years ago, and I was so excited when it started, because it was kind of the beginning of that outreach. And the first few events went fairly well. We had decent attendance and what that, but then for the next year and a half, 2 years, it dwindled off to about 4 regular people coming every month. And
With their agendas.
sometimes, but it was the same conversations over and over again.
Yeah.
And it never really went anywhere,
Yeah.
which is why I like what you're framing out in this contract with them, is because it's not just the event. It's then taking that event and pushing it back into the structure in order to do something about it. So, I mean, I really appreciate that portion of it, because I think it was one of the reasons that the attendance tailed off so quickly is they didn't see anything happening.
Mm.
People, it was like, okay, I don't wanna come and waste 2 hours of my night for nothing, just a vent. Last thing I wanted to say, the JTO contract in here, just as a point of reference, I'm very close personal friends with the CFO of JTO. I had no knowledge of this contract being negotiated, we'd never discussed it, I just wanted to make that point in case somebody, somewhere down the line, so, I didn't wanna pull it out and abstain or anything, I don't think I need to abstain from it, but I just wanted to raise that point that, I had no knowledge or awareness of the contract and didn't influence
Which one is the
Mm.
president of this one?
Tim Poser, he's the CFO, president.
Tim?
Yeah.
So, Mr. Bell, this is a different company again for snow plowing. And why are we changing?
I didn't like the job they did last year.
Okay.
It was a much smaller company than we had before. The last 2 companies I've worked with since I started here have been small companies. JTO is large, they've been doing mentor schools for 30 years.
Okay.
Even the way that they did their bidding, they actually they knew how much salt they were gonna use, things like that, how much time it would take.
Okay.
It just filled me with a lot of confidence that they were gonna do a good job, so I was doing year-to-year contracts anyway, until I found the right fit, and I'd like to give them a shot.
Okay. So what is there are no details here for this, contract with Geauga County and the math department at Heritage. It just says $400 a day.
So that is a consultant through our, which grant, the school improvement grant, which was the large kind of building-based school improvement grants. For Heritage, that was a need that we were able to locate. What we don't have enough capacity for is to do true instructional coaching. Professional development is one thing, we bring people in for a session. Coaching is a whole nother thing. It's a sustained relationship, it's learning, and then spending time in classrooms and debriefing lessons. And so it's a much more intensive, effective means of building capacity and enhancing learning. So that is, through that grant, that was a priority out of our grant project for that. And so that's what that is. It's an embedded consultant relationship for the math department.
So what are they actually doing with the math department?
Can I turn to Ms. Camper?
The goal is that she builds a very solid relationship with the teachers in a non-evaluative way, where she can go into their classrooms and provide direct coaching, whether it be lesson planning before and after, whether it be co-teaching, whether it be setting up instructional groups in the classroom and they're collaborating with the teacher. So that's our goal, is that's what this becomes. So it's really individualized professional development for each math teacher available at Heritage. The way that the agreement is written is that she's in our district working face-to-face with teachers every other Tuesday for the majority of the school year. There's some random weeks where she's not here because of scheduling and Labor Days and vacations. But right now, she's in the early stages. She's only met with the team one time. And they started with a book study, and then it will eventually roll into her working directly in the classroom. She is planning on being on campus tomorrow, but she wants the students to get comfortable with her being in the classroom with their math teachers.
And how was the math department chosen for them?
Based on our student performance data and what we
Okay.
had.
So it's, I mean, it's the whole,
Okay.
it's the whole school.
Oh, it's the whole school?
Yeah.
The whole math
The whole-
department at
yeah,
Heritage.
so all math teachers.
All
are there.
math teachers
Okay.
participate.
And it is framed around our instructional framework for mathematics instruction, our K-12 instructional framework.
Okay, my last question. I know we have Mentor Cares for autistic students, et cetera, and Signature Health for mental health. And what group is our Beechwood Services Agreement serving? Okay. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Webster,
Yes.
Dr. Humphries,
Yes.
Ms. Remington,
Yes.
Mr. Tackett,
Yes.
Ms. Powers Dolny.
Yes. Dr. Engelhardt?
Item 10, under non-action items, is the Lake Erie HVAC program syllabus. So that's been developed and defined, and I just wanted to share with the board so you had a sense of what our kids are doing in that program.
And how many do we have in there?
Have we held at 10? Okay, yeah.
Now Fairport is in that agreement also.
Mentor,
And,
Mentor.
oh, I thought Fairport also, no?
not on this one.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're running 2 sessions. The first session, the morning session, is all our kids. And then the second session is Mentor kids. And it's, I mean, so far so great, I think.
And it's a 2-year program?
They can do 1 or 2 years. I know that we have some seniors in there. So they're kind of.
Couldn't the seniors then transfer to the adult?
Oh, they could do that. They could do
Because can they get certified in 1 year?
that.
I
I
mean,
don't-
with contact hours, et cetera?
Yeah, I don't know the specific ins and outs, and I don't know how much of it is driven by seat hours versus, proving
Okay.
competency.
Okay.
And there's multiple certifications that are embedded within that program.
Okay.
So it might be a some but not all kind
Okay.
of scenario.
How are students selected for this? Do they just show an interest?
For this year, I mean, this is, we're starting from scratch. For this year, we really kind of targeted kids.
Okay.
Kids who we thought would be good candidates, kids who hadn't necessarily decided what they want to do next, but have the aptitude, kids who might need a little extra hook to really engage in school. So, I mean, that's really, I know that's a little bit fuzzy, but that's how we approached it this year. Now, moving forward, I haven't been part of the discussions about what the selection process is going to look like, because we see this growing and expanding, and I have a lot of confidence this is going to be a very successful program. So that's something we need to define to make sure there's equitable access. But there's still, I can tell you, it's the kind of program that there's still going to be kids out there that we go to and say, we think this will be a great opportunity for you.
Okay, so item 11, we need a motion for for the personnel?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, 11.1 is resignation, 11.2 is employment, 11.3 is change of assignment, 11.4 is a column change correction, 11.5 is extended time, 11.6 is leaves, 11.7 is stipends, 11.8 is certified substitutes, 11.9 is classified substitutes, 11.10 is supplemental and pupil activity contracts, 11.11, oh, sorry. That's it.
Okay. Any questions or comments on items 11.1 through 11.10?
No.
So I take it, Raphael, we are voting on him as a permanent substitute custodian?
Yes.
Okay. He's the man, but okay.
Yes.
Are these the football coaches that I've been seeing on the sideline, I saw on the sidelines at the first game that I didn't see in the program? The ones that
I'm guessing so. I didn't notice the program.
are, okay, got it.
What was in the program, Mr. Wright?
Just, I think Mr. Kramer, or Coach Kramer was in there, but there were
Oh,
other people on the sidelines who
So-
seemed to be coaching, and I was like, who are those guys? I haven't seen them before. They seem very engaged, like
okay.
offensive coordinator or something,
Yeah.
so I don't know who it was really.
There's only two
But
football ones.
no, there's three. There's William Sowers.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right, I didn't see the bottom.
Yeah. Isaiah Bell and Peter Rivera.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Mrs. Seaman?
Dr. Humphries?
This is only through 11.10.
Yes.
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 Okay. Yes.
Ms. Remington?
Yes.
Mr. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Webster?
Yes.
Ms. Powers Dolly?
Yes.
Real quick before we go on to the professional development stuff, one thing I noticed outside of Menor High, they've got a sign, and this is related to an update that you did, looking for bus drivers, substitute bus drivers, and saying competitive pay and all this, and so, I mean, even Menor, where they have a lot of bus routes, is having a hard time finding people. Just wanted to raise that,
Yeah,
raise that point.
I know we are all sharing some of the same pain.
Well, I mean, it makes it just that much harder for us.
that's right.
When we have smaller routes and, you know.
We have hired a couple of their people away from
5, I think.
Really?
Oh, just a couple, huh?
No.
So we're the reason they got that sign out front of the school.
Guess it's not better Menor, huh?
Oh, no.
Oh,
Um,
I just couldn't resist.
Yeah.
It's just,
11, 12, and 11, 13.
13.
Yes.
So, okay, do we need a, motion and a
We
second?
do,
for
So
those?
we probably need another motion for those two items?
we need one for each.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'll move that we approve 11.12 compensation for professional development for Shalonika James Humphries.
Okay, we need a second
Second.
discussion?
Ms. Remington?
Yes.
Mr. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Webster?
Yes.
Dr. Humphries?
Abstain.
Ms. Powers Dolly?
Yes.
Move that we approve 11.13 compensation for professional development for Stephen Webster.
Second.
Well, this is only if I have to go down.
Correct.
Correct.
We're just covering all the bases.
Okay.
We're gonna
got
make
it.
you go.
Just in case.
Don't
You're
threaten me
okay.
with
You're
a good
committed.
time. You don't wanna
Mr.
go with me?
Tackett is third, and then,
I only get to go if you're not gonna go.
Well, you can both go.
yeah, you
If you
can
want.
both go.
Really?
We can send everybody.
No, you can both go.
Are you sure?
Yes. Mr.
Okay.
Dillard told me there were years back in the day that
When they
all the board
all
members
went.
went.
Yes.
So if I can go with, well,
especially to the ones in San Francisco and San Diego and
My
those
wife could have 2
places.
nights out.
Yeah.
I'm sure she'll love that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Yes.
But
So, we seriously need to know.
Marie's making the
Hotel rooms are at a
hotel
premium.
Huh?
arrangements
Hotel
tonight.
rooms are at a premium during this conference.
Okay.
And so like I wanna say are later this week, then,
Tomorrow morning.
oh,
Tomorrow morning is when Marie, like, it opens and like
It's
all
like,
the administrative
there. It
it
assistants.
sells off faster than the best concerts.
I don't, you'll have a text waiting an email message waiting for you tomorrow.
Okay,
Is that okay?
oh yeah, that's fine.
Marie starts making the arrangements around 9 o'clock.
If you tell us at night.
Man, I've already gone for my 10-mile run now.
I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah, right.
Okey doke. Dueling pianos, it's well worth it.
Oh,
I'm telling you.
absolutely.
Really?
Yeah,
It's a good one.
Okay, so now we're voting on Mr. Webster, okay.
yes.
We have a motion, did we get?
We already,
second?
yes,
We have a
seconded it,
motion and Dr. Humphries seconded it.
Yes,
And now we just need to vote.
okay, Dr. Humphries,
Yes.
Ms. Remington,
Yes.
Mr. Tackett,
Yes.
Mr. Webster,
Abstain.
Ms. Barzoni.
Yes. Okay, item 12, we need a motion for professional visits.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Okay, 12.1, we have professional visits taken from the general fund, and 12.2, professional visits taken from grant funds.
Any discussion?
How was the board candidate workshop?
It was a lot,
Okay.
but, I mean, it was a lot of information condensed in the 3 hours, but, there was a lot of good discussion. Yeah, half of it was board candidates, then half of it was actually like new board members. So it was very helpful. It was. A lot of good questions.
But you only went for the
Both.
one day, right? How did you get out of only going one
Yeah.
day? We
went 2 days.
Oh, 2 long days.
It was only scheduled for one day. So,
Oh, my goodness.
yeah.
People stopped
Independence.
going to take
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did you have a
Yeah.
terrible headache by the end of the day?
No. I mean, it was at 6 o'clock. I had, I probably had, 8 cups of coffee by then. So it was fine. It was a nice group too. A lot of good questions.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of different school districts, some bigger, some smaller.
Yep. Okay, any other discussion?
Ms. Remington,
Yes.
Mr. Tackett,
Yes.
Mr. Webster,
Yes.
Dr. Humphries,
Wait, am I on here?
Do you wanna-
Just vote yes. either
Okay,
way.
yes. Okay.
Ms. Barzoni.
Yes. Okay, and item 13,
No.
we don't have anyone that has signed up, do we?
Mm-mm.
No, we do not.
Okay. Item 14, good things are happening.
Well, I can start. We had, was that last week that we had COSI? 2 weeks ago? So we opened the school year with COSI on Wheels, which is a hands-on science experience for all of our elementary kids. We did a day at each building, funded by the Educational Foundation. It was an experience that we engaged every kid in. It was a great experience for the kids. The kids were incredibly engaged. We said, every session we went down and saw the kids, we said, kids could do this for 6 hours a day, every day. It's just really, really engaging in their learning. So, it was really, really great. Other things that were great about it were, it took a ton of volunteer support to pull that off. And Neil is in the audience, so I'd like to thank Neil. He, again, was the glue to really turn out a ton of volunteers to make that work. And I think the volunteers enjoyed the experience, and it was a great way to start the year. And now our teachers, the kids did all those science activities that the teachers are now going to have something concrete to link back to as they're teaching the concepts along the way. So it was really great.
Good.
And Wendy put a ton of work into getting that going too.
No big deal.
I wanted to say, the Painesville City Local Schools magazine was phenomenal. And I'm not saying that because I was in it. I mean,
Whole page.
so,
I just feel like
we talked about it at my house, we talked about it at my parents' house, we talked about it at my in-laws' house, we talked about it at church, we flipped through the pages at church and said, if you don't have a magazine, go get one. It's phenomenal, I love it, I just wanted to say that.
I'm glad to hear that
Love it.
feedback. And we order extras because we like to have them on hand
Autograph them
for
and hand them out.
a
I
lot
don't
of
think anybody
purposes.
wants my autograph.
So if you do have any people who, didn't get a copy, or, we're interested in getting those into business people's hands, and, it's our major promotional material. So if you do have a need for some copies, we have them.
Okay.
Now, who put this one together? Was that
Matt,
Mr. Fouts?
yeah.
Before he left?
Yeah.
So, that information was probably, compiled in
Well,
April, by the end of April or something?
right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing, is the content has to be developed by.
Okay, I would still, we had a discussion last time, I would still like to see much more in the way of academics in that. And I know we didn't have the test results or anything like that, and I don't know how we would put it in there, because our scores have improved, but not to the point where we would like them to be. But there was much more in the way of academics in this issue than the first one.
Yeah.
But,
Well, and I think, Kathy, I used to do a calendar
right,
that was the summer thing that came out,
yep,
and where we highlighted commencement and all the scholarships and all that
Yep.
kind of stuff. Because we didn't do as nice a magazine
right.
as you do now, so, I mean, I think the magazine is far more eye-catching. I mean, we did the calendars because it was a way to let,
And there
our
was some
parents and
color in
community
those,
know, oh, yeah.
But not like
Yeah,
this.
no, my budget was not,
No.
That, you bring up a great point though, when I think about stuff like that. I don't think we did any advertising in those, did we? Where we members of
we
the
have.
community, the local funeral home, to kind of put a little ad in the back or something
Right.
like that? That just seems like it might be an opportunity. The other thing is, and I totally agree, looked fantastic,
Yeah,
in terms of, just terrific eye candy. Really, it's great.
The
And
featured
the-
art,
Oh, the art
we were
was
asking, does she sell those? Can we
Yeah.
buy those? It was
But-
beautiful.
phenomenal.
One of the things I'm thinking is we're talking about alumni development. I really like what you're talking about there. It seems to me that if we could build up a database of our alumni, if we know where they are, and we could send out a copy of that to them with a nice sticker that they can put on the back window of their car that says Harvey Alumni.
That's a great idea.
It's the way you see people like Ohio State alumni
Mhm.
or
Lake Erie alumni.
Lake Erie alumni, they have a couple. So,
They have a couple.
We have a few,
yeah, I work with one.
12,000,
I work with
sorry.
one. I work with one.
yeah.
So, right next door to one. So, but yeah, I think that's a great idea, and boy, I really liked all that enthusiasm around the alumni, and I guess that's what I would speak to in my good things are happening comments, or I went to the, and I'm sure somebody else, others did as well, but to the Lake County
Captains.
kickoff at the captain's game for
drum
for
line.
United Way in the drum off, and our drum line was extraordinary, but that's only half the story. The other half of that story is how extraordinary our alumni were how they were there representing and leading every person, it seemed like, who got up to speak for United Way, people who are engaged and active in our Lake County community, and they were all Harvey alumni.
Right.
You know, and it just was really fantastic, and of course our kids were amazing. But the reason, you know, that contest is not a judge of talent. We were the most talented drumline there this year. We were also the most talented drumline there last year. But this year our alumni said, you know, they're so good, we're not gonna let them lose, because that's where, I mean, and the people responded, but, I mean, I just imagine that some of those alumni said, yeah, I'll write $100 check. We'll get there, because I think our people, what was it? Do you remember, were you there, Miss Andrews? It was, I think, $8,000, I believe, was raised.
Correct, that
And
night.
about $3,600 came in the name of our drum line.
Yep.
So, more than a third of the total raise.
Yep.
So,
It was very impressive.
I also have one other positive thing that I wanted to talk about, and I know somebody else should talk about the Harvey Hub, and it seems like that's going really, really well. And I've heard great things because I have an inside link to that. But the other thing that they're doing, which as a parent, I'm gonna give a shout out for, is they've got access now through Morley Library. It's a brand new program that Morley Library has, a resource, tutor.com, which is developed by Princeton Review. And you link into the resources at, you go to morley.org, morleylibrary.org, and you look up under teens and then teen resources, and there's a link to tutor.com, and anybody, not just our students, but anybody can get 24/7 tutoring help from these people who won't give you the answer, but you show them you take a picture of your problem, you send it to them, and they go, well, let me show you something that's a little similar to that to help you lead to the answer. My daughter's in pre-calc this year, I cannot help. I cannot help. I never got that far. So
You can give it my
it works
number,
great.
I'll
And there's also assistance for ACT, SAT test prep within tutor.com, and advanced placement testing. So those are all good resources, so I think that community partnership is great.
That's awesome.
We have kids learning how to play chess in the hub.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
Awesome.
wonderful, because, you know,
Should have a chess club.
yeah, it could happen.
Lots of good things.
I suggested that athletes learn how to play chess many, many years ago, because perhaps it would get them to start thinking strategically and different moves they could make, and a few people found it very humorous that I suggested that. Kind of goes right along with pool and geometry, you know, because playing pool is nothing but angles.
It's also physics.
Yeah.
Force and.
Right. So I'm just saying, pool tables and math classes would not be a bad
Force
idea.
equals mass times acceleration.
You know, make it fun, make it interactive.
So we should get a pool table and put it upstairs.
That's what I said.
Science area.
I-
Kids want a pool table in the hub. On the
Yeah.
hub place where
I'm
I
telling
live.
you, it gets
Well,
them
that's
to
fine.
see, you know, I think it's a good idea, that and
You
chess.
just have to fill out a worksheet.
Causes trouble in
Physics
River
worksheet.
City.
Right, yeah.
Geometry.
I
I
don't
saw
know
the
how
show.
much it'll help with sports, but it'll be fun.
T rhymes with P, and that stands for pool.
All right.
That's right,
Yeah.
right here in River City,
Yep.
okay.
Or Grand Rivers together.
Mhm.
I guess I'll make a motion pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, section 121.22, subparagraph D, subparagraph 1, that the board moves or adjourns to executive session for the purpose of considering the discipline of an employee of the school district. Need a second.
Second.
Whoops.
James?
Yes?
Yes.
Wilson Webster. Is that good for the
Fine.
second?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay,
Why'd you call my name?
What?
You said James.
What's
Mr. Remington,
Oh.
Yes.
Mr. Tackett,
Yes.
Mr. Webster,
Yes?
Dr. Humphries,
Yes.
Ms. Marzoni.
Yes.
I thought you called
Yeah,
my name.
we-
'Cause
I mean, yeah.
I'm like, I didn't hear Sherry call my name. Did I miss it?
Is that a